this video, we'll be discussing the 8 wastes of lean and how we can observe a process and criticize it using this lens. In this video, we'll be looking at how wastes lead to inefficiencies and poor customer experience, how ultimately it's the customer that's determining whether or not a process step is valuable or not. We're going to criticize that process by looking through the 8 wastes framework. And then lastly, we're going to identify different types of waste. In this case, in this video, we're going to be looking at defects, motion, inventory, waiting, and extra processing. So 5 of the 8 wastes. Now, if you're not familiar, the 8 wastes is a way of categorizing different types of activity that we would call non-value added. We'll get to non-value added in 1 second, but just know right now that we have 8 different types of wastes, and we spell out this nice anagram that we call downtime. So as we're looking at activities, we're looking for activities that create defects, that lead to overproduction, where somebody's waiting, where there's non-utilized talent, where there's transportation or inventory or motion or extra processing, doing more than what that customer actually expects or wants. All of these things can be captured, all these activities can be captured as categories of waste. Now, I just used a word non-value added, and this gets to the heart of what waste is all about, which is defining what the customer values. And that's ultimately what we're going to see in this video is while the flight attendant is doing a lot that may actually help that passenger, it's not what the passenger wants, and for that reason, we would call these wasteful or non-value added activities. What we see in front of us is that value activities is anything that increases the product or service, the worth of the product or service from the customer's perspective, and then anything that doesn't would be considered non-value activity.
This is your pilot, Captain Singer. I'd like to thank you for flying.
What's he saying?
Today. We've just reached our cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. We are up there.
I couldn't understand a word of that. Oh, well. I guess it's not important. Oh, it's cold in here. I don't know why they keep these planes so cold inside. Oh, maybe the flight attendant can help me. Excuse me.
Excuse me just a moment.
Oh, no. Not him.
I'll be right with you, sir.
It's him again. Oh.
Yes, sir. What can I...
So we can see there that the customer, in this case Mr. Johnson, is cold in the airplane, and he's trying to elicit the help of a flight attendant. And in this case, our flight attendant is Grover, and we can see that he's tried to flag him down several times, and because this attendant was busy with other passengers, there was a waste of waiting associated with this step in the process. So we can already see that waste is beginning to present itself as we look through the lens of our 8 wastes, and we see that simply waiting for a flight attendant to come to you is in fact a waste.
do for you, sir? Oh, hello!
What are you doing up here?
Oh, I am your flight attendant, sir. What will it be? Coffee, tea, milk?
No. I don't want anything to eat, thank goodness.
Oh.
Look, it's kind of cold in here. I don't suppose that
cold? Oh, I know just the thing for cold. Exercise. Let's get up, sir. Ready? On 3.
What? Wait a minute.
Oh, you've had a lot of those.
So we can see here that the customer is defining what the problem is. In this case, he's too cold. And before he's able to come up with his own proposed solution that might satisfy his needs, the flight attendant, Grover, already jumps to a conclusion of saying, I know exactly what will help you with this. And in this case, it's exercise. Now, this is a good example of why waste is defined as something that the customer is willing to pay for, something that ultimately, value is designed by something that the customer is willing to pay for, and waste is anything that's not. So in this case, what we're going to see is, while Grover might be correct that exercise does keep you warmer, it's ultimately not what the customer is wanting, and for that reason, it's considered a waste.
Oh, not haven't you?
Wait, hey.
1, 2,
Hey, wait.
3! Watch out for the tray, sir. Come on up, jump!
Thank you.
Jump!
What, huh?
Jump!
What are you doing?
That's
Hey,
it!
cut that out!
There's nothing like exercise to warm you up, get the blood flowing. Oh, I am getting warmer. How about you, sir?
Hey! Stop that bouncing! Don't do that!
Come on, let me go! Oh!
So we can see here that Grover's actually produced a defect, right? He's done something that the customer is not happy with, and we can consider that as a defective product or a defective service. Likewise, we've introduced a lot of motion waste into this, where they have to jump up and down and move Mr. Johnson out of his chair. He hits his head on the tray, and you can see that all of this is associated with the motion waste as well.
I'm sorry, sir. Excuse me, sir. I do not think we should exercise, sir. It disturbs the other passengers.
No, I think you're certainly right. We should not exercise.
Yes, but I do have another way to get you warmer.
Oh,
It's
good.
called hugging.
Huh?
Oh, hug, hug, hug. Hugging is a great way to keep people warm.
Get away from me!
You do not like to hug, sir?
No, I don't want you to hug me. All
So here we see that Grover has actually produced another defect. He's provided another service to keep Mr. Johnson warm, but in this case, again, the customer is not satisfied with that level of performance, and therefore it's considered a defect or a waste.
I want is a blanket. A blanket!
A blanket? A blankie!
Yes.
I call it a blankie.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, good. Oh, sit down. I will get the blankie. The blankie is up there. You just sit down, sir. I will get it. It's right up there. Here, you don't...
We can see there it was small, but there was some motion waste, or you might even call it transportation waste, but Mr. Johnson had to get back into his seat. And while the time was small, it was still a wasteful time, because ultimately, if we can eliminate that time of movement or transportation, we're going to be more efficient. So we could categorize that as a movement waste as well.
Okay. Let's see if there's a blanket. Oop, oop, oop. Oh, no blanket. Oop, that's not a blanket. See anything else? Oop, that's not anything else in there. No blanket. Any blanket?
We see here that what Grover's encountering is excessive inventory. And of course, inventory is, again, another one of those 8 wastes. Inventory leads to a lot of inefficiencies because you have to go through the inventory, as we're seeing with Grover right now. It's difficult to find the actual, inventory item that you're looking for, in this case, a blanket. And you can see that there's a lot of wasted time. Plus, he's going to have to clean all of this up afterwards, right?
No blanket. Nope, that's not the blanket. I guess not. Okay, well. Okay, no blanket. Doggone it.
You can see there, you might categorize it as a waste as well, is that he did all of this searching and he wasn't even able to find that blanket. So we might capture this as a defect of some internal process. We might capture this as motion waste of looking for something as well. There's a lot we could wrap up in that little bit right there.
Oh, well, aren't you clever, sir? That is another way to keep warm. Covering yourself with all this stuff. Do you still want the blankie?
Oh, you've done more than enough.
Okay, bye-bye.
So we can see there, this is actually extra processing, right? Mr. Johnson has commented that the work that Grover has done is actually more than enough. And he's actually not satisfied, of course. He kind of said it tongue-in-cheek. But you can see here how over-processing, or doing too much, covering the passenger of this plane with too much stuff, is actually a form of over-processing. So as you can see from this video, we've accomplished everything we've set out to do. We were able to see how wastes lead to inefficiencies and poor customer experiences. We saw that ultimately it was the customer and what the customer valued, that blanket versus exercising or getting a hug or being covered in a bunch of stuff, that led to customer value and not a non-value added activity. We were able to criticize the process pretty thoroughly using the 8 waste framework, and we captured these wastes in 5 different types: defects, motion, inventory, waiting, and extra processing.